This is the third video regarding bone tumor and it is about the chondrogenic tumors. The references for the chondrogenic tumors are these. The majority of the benign and malignant primary bone tumors are cartilage forming tumor, and the formation of hyaline and myxoid cartilage is common. The fibrocartilage and elastic cartilage are rare, and the benign entities are more common than the malignant lesion of this cartilage forming. Cartilage forming tumor accounts for about 40% of the primary bone tumor. The benign tumor of these chondrogenic tumors are osteochondroma, chondroma, chondroblastoma, and chondromyxoid fibroma, while their malignant counterpart is chondrosarcoma. The osteochondroma commonly involves metaphysis of the long bone, and it affects the people between the age of 10 to 30 years. Chondroma affects a small bone of hand and feet, and it affects people slightly later in their lifetime. It affects people around 30 to 50 years of age. The chondroblastoma affects epiphysis of the long bone, and it affects these people in the second decade of the life. Chondromyxoid fibroma affects tibia and pelvis, and it affects people during the third decade of the life. The chondrosarcoma, the common sites are pelvis and shoulder, and it affects people after the age of 40. The osteochondroma, which is also termed as exostosis, is a benign cartilaginous neoplasm consisting of a bony projection with a cartilage cap that arises on the surface of the bone. This is the most common benign tumor of the bone, and it is attached to the skeleton by a bony stalk that is capped by a cartilage. The most of the cases occur solitary and sporadic, and which comprises about 85% of the cases, while some which account for about 15% of the cases, they present as autosomal dominant disorder and associated with multiple hereditary exostosis syndrome. The solitary and sporadic lesion, they appear during adolescence, while the autosomal dominant multiple hereditary exostosis syndrome occur in childhood, and it is present in 1 in 50,000 birth and is associated with skeletal abnormalities. Men are thrice more commonly affected than female, and this lesion develop only in the bones of endochondral origin. Metaphysis near the growth plate of the long tubular bone, such as knee, is affected most, while the pelvis, scapula, and ribs are also affected. And in these areas, it has tendency to have a short stalk. This lesion, osteochondroma, may be detected incidentally, which is the most common presentation, while in severe cases, it is associated with dwarfism, and this dwarfism is a result of the lateral displacement of the longitudinal growth plate by the osteosarcoma. They may present as slow-growing masses and may present with pain if nerve is impinged or stalk is fractured. In the multiple exostosis hereditary syndrome, the underlying bone may be bored and shortened, reflecting an associated disturbance in the epiphyseal growth. These in severe cases may present as fixed pronation or supination of the forearm or limb length inequality or joint disorder are other manifestations. The pathogenesis of the osteochondroma, there is X1 and X2 gene. The EXT1 gene is located on the long arm of the chromosome 8, while the EXT2 gene is located on the short arm of the chromosome 11. These genes encode the enzyme that synthesize heparan sulfate glycosaminoglycans, and these are responsible for the hedgehog signaling. This hedgehog signaling, especially the Indian hedgehog factor, is a local regulator of the cartilage growth, which results in the chondrocyte differentiation. In the case of the hereditary form of the osteochondroma, there is a germline mutation or loss of function mutation of these two genes, which results in the loss of the remaining wild type allele in the chondrocytes of the growth plate. There is a disturbance in the formation of the enzymes that synthesize heparan sulfate and glycosaminoglycans, and it will result in disturbed diffusion of the hedgehog factor into the surrounding tissue and the chondrocyte differentiation. So it will result in this differentiation abnormality. And in sporadic form, there is also decreased expression of these two genes. The osteochondroma or exocytosis are sessile or pedunculated. These may be solitary or multiple. The cartilage cap bony growth range in size from 1 to 20 centimeter, and at an average they are about 4 centimeter. The cap is composed of benign hyaline cartilage and is covered by the perichondrium. Uh, Cartilage cap may have a bursa around it sometimes. These pictures are showing the osteochondroma, excised osteochondroma with a stalk, and on the upper side there is a cartilaginous cap which is shiny blue in color and mushroom like in appearance. So this is an excised osteochondroma which is showing that there is inner osseous tissue and it is covered by the cartilage cap. This schema is showing the development over time of an osteochondroma beginning with an outgrowth from the epiphyseal cartilage. First there is disorganized growth plate and that undergo an endochondral ossification, with newly made bone forming the inner portion of the head and stalk. The cortex of the stalk merges with the cortex of the host bone. So the medullary cavity of the osteochondroma is continuous with the bone from which it arises. This is the histologic picture of the osteochondroma, which is showing that there is a cartilage cap which is like a disorganized growth plate. There is endochondral ossification also, and which is making a new bone, and this new bone is forming the inner portion of the head and stalk. The intertrabecular spaces contain hematopoietic marrow. This is the high power view of the osteochondroma, which is showing on the left that there is benign cartilage cap, while on the right there is a new bone formation under this cartilage cap. This is the radiograph of an osteochondroma arising from the distal femur. The metaphyseal lesion grow in the direction opposite to the adjacent joint, and cortex and medulla are continuous with the underlying bone. The arrows are pointing to a mushroom-shaped pedunculated bony excrescence. It is arising from the anteromedial aspect of the distal femur, metaphysis of the femur, and this projection is attached to the parent bone and pointing away from the metaphysis. On the left, there is a radiograph which is showing that there is an osteochondroma which is present near the metaphysis of the femur, lower end of the femur, and this is pointing away from the metaphysis. While on the right there is an MRI, of the lesion, and this is showing that the composition of the this osteochondroma lesion is similar to that of the bone. To summarize the morphology of the osteochondroma, on the extreme left there is a radiograph from the humerus which shows an osteochondroma. The lesion is in continuity with the marrow space. The central picture is showing a cross section which reveals a cap of calcified cartilage overlying poorly organized cancellous bone. On the extreme right, there is the micrograph, histopathological appearance of the osteochondroma, which is showing that the cartilage is covered by a fibrous perichondrium, and this cartilage is undergoing endochondral ossification. The osteochondroma are slow-growing lesions, and they are painful if they impinge upon a nerve or the stalk of the osteochondroma is broken. Usually, these lesions stop growing and ossifies at puberty. There is little chance of malignant transformation if the lesion is solitary, that is 1 to 2%, and it increases to about 5 to 25% if the lesion is multiple, and usual malignancy is chondrosarcoma. The treatment for symptomatic osteochondroma is excision. The chondroma are benign tumors of hyaline cartilage that occur in bones of endochondral origin. The chondromas can be of two varieties. One is enchondroma and another is juxtacortical chondroma. The enchondroma arise within the medullary cavity, while the juxtacortical chondroma arise on the surface of the bone. The enchondromas are the most common intraosseous cartilage tumor. They can occur solitary or in multiple form. The solitary form usually accounts for about 70% of the cases, and it occurs in metaphysis of the tubular bone of hand and feet. The age group affected is usually between the age of 20 to 50 years, and they remain asymptomatic for most of the time, but may present with pain or with pathological fracture. The enchondromatosis, which accounts for 30% of the cases, is the condition which is characterized by tumors which are numerous and large and produce severe deformity. Two conditions, Ollier disease and Maffucci syndrome, are non-hereditary disorders which are characterized by multiple enchondromas. Maffucci syndrome is distinguished by the presence of spindle cell hemangiomas and other non-cartilage neoplasm such as ovarian carcinoma and brain gliomas. This is an X-ray and gross appearance of the arm which is affected by Maffucci syndrome, and the X-ray is showing that there are many enchondromas which are resulting in disfigurement of the arm, and development of chondrosarcoma is common feature in this Maffucci syndrome. Isocitrate dehydrogenase in humans has got three isoforms: isocitrate dehydrogenase 1, 2, and 3. The isocitrate 1 and 2 are responsible for the reaction within the cytosol, while the isocitrate dehydrogenase 3 is associated with citric acid cycle. These are encoded by IDH1 and 2 and 3 gene. When there is this isocitrate dehydrogenase is an enzyme that catalyzes the oxidative decarboxylation of the isocitrate, produce alpha ketoglutarate and carbon dioxide. This is a two-step process which involves oxidation of isocitrate to the oxalosuccinate, followed by decarboxylation of the carboxyl beta group to the ketone, thence forming the alpha ketoglutarate. When there is heterozygous mutation in IDH1 and 2 gene, the enzyme acquires a new activity, and instead of forming alpha ketoglutarate, it forms 2-hydroxyglutarate, which is an oncometabolite, and this oncometabolite interferes with the regulation of DNA methylation, and it is produced from these mutated cells, and it diffuses to the neighboring cells, and in the neighboring cell it also disturbs the metabolism. So this phenomenon is termed as transformation by association. The individual who harbor these mutations are mosaic in pattern, and these IDH1 and 2 mutations are present both in the solitary type and in the multiple type of the enchondromas, and it is present in subset of the tumor cell. The lesion in enchondromas are well circumscribed, grey-blue, solid, and they resemble cartilage. There is no myxoid change and the lesions are translucent. This is gross appearance of head of the humerus, which is affected by multiple chondromas in a patient of Pollier's disease. The juxtacortical or periosteal chondroma, they produce a semi-spherical expansion of the involved bone, as is marked by this golden arrow. They are less common than enchondromas, and they characteristically erode and induce sclerosis of the contiguous cortex. These photomicrographs are showing histopathologic appearance of the enchondromas and at various magnification. These enchondromas or chondromas are lobules of hyaline cartilage which are encased by bone and covered by perichondrium, which is a fibrous tissue. And the tumor is composed of hyaline cartilage, which comprises of cytologically benign chondrocytes. When the chondroma is associated with Pollier's and Maffucci syndrome, it may resemble low-grade chondrosarcoma due to presence of more cellular population and binucleation, but the lesion is radiologically benign. There may be presence of calcification and endochondral ossification, and necrosis is common in benign lesions due to avascular cartilage. The tongue of the bone extends into the cartilage also. This is the X-ray of enchondroma of the proximal phalanx. There is a radiolucent nodule of the cartilage with the central calcification, and the cortex is thinned out, but there is no penetration by this cartilage out of this cortex. So these enchondromas are circumscribed lucent areas with central irregular calcification. the sclerotic rim, and intact cortex. On the left, this photomicrograph is showing an enchondroma, which is depicting that there is increased cellularity in the enchondroma, but still there is no atypia. Then the MRI on the right is showing an enchondroma in the lower end of the femur. There is a lytic lesion which is well circumscribed. So this is a case of enchondroma. The X-ray is showing that there is a well-demarcated lytic lesion in the diaphysis of the proximal phalanx with internal calcification, and there is associated fracture also. On the right, the histopathological appearance of the tumor, which is composed of lobules of hypocellular hyaline cartilage. There is no atypia. This is X-ray of an enchondroma of the phalanx with a pathological fracture, which is marked by this golden. The long bone enchondromas are unusual, and there is a variant of the enchondroma of the long bone in which there is massive calcification within the nucleus. These are termed as calcifying enchondromas. The Ollier disease is a condition in which failure of the normal endochondral ossification result in multiple enchondromas. The involvement may be of entire skeleton or one half of the body or even just one limb. These are the non-hereditary disease and usually affect long bones and flat bones. Histological features are of low-grade chondrosarcoma, but radiologically the lesion is benign. These lesions regress often when the skeleton mature and associated with ovarian sex cord stromal tumor, and a quarter of the patient develop chondrosarcoma by the age of 40. The upper radiograph is showing the hand with bulbous swelling that represent nodular masses composed of hyaline cartilage. The chondromas have got limited growth potential and they usually present with pain or pathologic fracture. These are associated with other syndrome or chondromatosis. There are tumors of the other side in the body. The treatment depends on the clinical situation and usually is observation and curettage. The malignant transformation is rare in solitary chondromas, while in multiple, a quarter of the patient they have the tendency to develop chondrosarcoma by the age of 40. Are rare tumor and they account for less than 1% of the primary bone tumor. They affect teenage male, and male are about twice as frequently affected as female with open growth plate. They present with pain and often causes joint effusion and restrict joint mobility. The site of this chondroblastoma is distal femur, proximal humerus, proximal tibia, pelvis, rib, feet and scapula. Usually epiphyses, open epiphyses are affected or apophyses are affected such as iliac crest, and it may extend to the metaphysis. Skull is also affected in older patients. The chromosomal abnormalities and mutations are associated with chondroblastoma are aneuploidy and abnormalities involving chromosome 5 and 8 and mutation in p53 genes. Grossly, this is a well circumscribed lesion with white blue-gray appearance. It is firm, usually 3 to 6 centimeter in diameter. There is variable calcification as it is seen in this photograph, and there is necrosis or cystic areas as this area marked by yellow arrow is showing an aneurysmal bone cyst-like appearance. The morphology of the chondroblastoma is confusing lesion because of its extreme cellularity and variability. Sometimes there is presence of giant cell. They may lead to misdiagnosis of giant cell tumor. The basic tumor cell is an embryonic chondroblast with only limited capacity to produce cartilaginous matrix. The shape of this cell is usually polyhedral and sometimes spindle elements also accompany. The cell membrane is thick and sharply defined. The nuclei are round to indented and lobulated. Some resemble those of Langerhans cells. Mitosis are exceptional. Intracytoplasmic glycogen granule and individual cell reticulin fibers are also present. So it can be summarized as the plumb round cells which are chondroblast, and these are surrounded by mineralized primitive chondrite matrix. These two photomicrographs are showing the features we just discussed. The tumor cell have a scant amount of clear rotten cytoplasm with well-defined cytoplasmic border. Some tumors are composed of epithelioid cell with abundant pink cytoplasm, and the nuclei of the tumor cell in the chondroblastoma may be oval, indented, or lobulated, and they have got coffee bean appearance. In the start, we said that sometime this chondroblastoma may be diagnosed as giant cell tumor because it contains areas of multinucleated giant cell. The 1/3 of the chondroblastoma shows some calcification. This calcification is thin, lace-like, and deposited between the degenerative tumor cells, and it is termed as chicken wire calcification. The chondroblastoma, radiologically characterized by an extremely well circumscribed tumor of the epiphysis. On the extreme left, this X-ray of the head of the humerus is showing a sharply delineated lytic appearance of the chondroblastoma, while there is a spotty calcification also. On the right, this head of the femur is also showing another chondroblastoma. This is the MRI of shoulder of a child, which is showing that there is a prominent lytic lesion of the head of the humerus. It is involving the epiphysis and extending across the epiphyseal plate. The treatment of choice for the chondroblastoma is curettage, while the recurrence rate for this tumor is 10%. Fibroma is extremely rare benign bone tumor arising in young adults. The commonly affected individuals are male between the age of 15 to 25 years. They present with dull achy pain, and the site is the medulla of the epiphysis of the long tubular bone. Most common site is the knee, that is the lower end of the femur and upper end of the tibia. Small bones of the feet or any other bone can be affected by this tumor. One important sign of this site of this tumor is skull base. The pathogenesis is due to upregulation of the glutamate receptor gene GRM1 coding region of chromosome 6 through recombination with several partner genes in up to 90% of the cases. Grossly, this tumor measures about 3 to 5 centimeter, but usually it is less than 5 centimeter. It is well circumscribed, lobulated, solid, glistening, yellow-white to tan tumor, which is showing zonation effect that this tumor is circumscribed by or surrounded by dense sclerotic bone, and the zonation is the old tumor is more hyalinized and it resembles hyaline cartilage. Calcification within the tumor is not as common as with other cartilage forming tumors. On radiology, these chondromyxoid fibroma are extremely well circumscribed lytic defect with the scalloped sclerotic margins similar to the metaphyseal fibrous defect. This radiograph is showing in the proximal tibia a well demarcated lytic lesion with sharp edges and intact cortical outline. The chondromyxoid fibroma on histology is composed of a lobulated pattern, and these lobules are separated by fibrous tissue and variable number of osteoclast-like giant cell. The lobules are composed of immature cartilage cells, and this consists of spindle shape or slate cell with abundant myxoid or chondroid intercellular matrix. This diagram is showing all three, the chondroid area, the myxomatous area, and the fibrous element, which make this chondromyxoid fibroma. Microscopically, the chondromyxoid fibroma is comprised of hypocellular lobules with chondromyxoid appearance, separated by intersecting bands of highly cellular tissue composed of fibroblast-like spindle cells and osteoclast-like giant cell. So in the center, this high power view is showing this hypocellular center, and there is increased cellularity at the periphery, while on the surrounding there are the bands, intersecting bands of highly cellular tissue with the fibroblast-like spindle cells, and some osteoclasts are also there. Mitotic figures are not common. Calcification is not common in chondromyxoid fibroma. 1/3 of the cases only show this calcification, but this calcification is quite distinct from the calcification, chicken wire calcification seen in the chondroblastoma. Here, this is a chunky or plaque-like calcification. The treatment for chondromyxoid fibroma is in block excision. If curettage is done, 1/4 of the cases recur. This tumor spreads to the local soft tissue through implantation or extension, but distant metastasis is not reported. This picture is showing chondromyxoid fibroma of the proximal femur, which is extending into the soft tissue. This rare event of extension to the local soft tissue should not be considered as malignant transformation. The malignant cartilage forming tumors are chondrosarcomas. They are second most common malignant matrix producing tumor of the bone. They may arise from pre-existing lesions such as osteochondroma and enchondroma. That happens in about 15% of the cases. There are 4 histologic types of the osteosarcoma that are conventional, clear cell, dedifferentiated, and mesenchymal variety. It is twice as the conventional type is twice as common in men than women, and it affects people after the age of 40. The average age is about 45 years. While the clear cell and mesenchymal variants affect individuals who are 20 years or younger. The pelvic bone, ribs, and shoulder girdle, ribs especially at the costochondral junction, and the shoulder girdle are the most common location of chondrosarcoma, and they are also reported in small bones of the hand and feet, but exceptional, and they can involve the bone of the skull, especially the temporal bone and base of the skull. Several driver mutations for the development of chondrosarcoma have been described. The sporadic tumors show mutation in EXT gene and silencing of the CDKN2A tumor suppressor locus by DNA methylation. The multiple osteochondroma syndrome is associated with mutation in EXT gene, and the both sporadic and multiple osteochondroma syndrome show mutation in IDH1 and IDH2 gene. There are many chromosomal aberrations are also recorded in the development of chondrosarcoma. These are trisomy 7, while the rearrangement in short arm of the chromosome 17 is associated with high-grade chondrosarcoma, and rearrangement in the long arm of the chromosome 12 is associated with the tumors that exhibit myxoid features. The conventional chondrosarcoma are large, bulky tumors. They are made up of nodule of glistening gray-white translucent cartilage, and the matrix is often gelatinous or myxoid. This can ooze out from the cut surface, and there is presence of spotty calcification and formation of cystic spaces due to central necrosis, and the tumor is spread through the cortex into the surrounding muscle and fat. The ill-defined margin, fusiform thickening of the shaft, and perforation of the cortex are three important diagnostic signs of chondrosarcoma. This is the gross appearance of the chondrosarcoma, which is showing that the proximal femur is affected and it has not destroyed the cortex, and the tumor is bluish glassy appearance, which is reminiscent of cartilage. In advanced cases, they may break through the cortex, but only rarely they go beyond the periosteum. This gross picture is showing a large irregular mass which is arising within the pelvic bone and extending into the soft tissue. These extensive nodules of white to bluish white cartilaginous tumor tissue eroding bone and extending outward from the residual bone. So this photograph is showing the multiple appearances of this chondrosarcoma. The photograph A is showing that in the medulla there is this blue-white area of the cartilage formation. Over there is some area of necrosis also, and the B is showing that the chondrosarcoma is affecting the lower end of the femur, and there is the cystic space due to extensive necrosis. C is showing that there is destruction of the cortex and expansile growth of the tumor. D is showing that the tumor is filling the medulla of the bone and the cortex is preserved, while E is showing that the ribs have become widened. There is expansile growth of the rib, and there is this bluish white chondrosarcoma or cartilage producing tumor. The chondrosarcoma is characterized histologically by the presence of neoplastic cartilage which infiltrate the marrow spaces and surround pre-existing bony trabeculae, and these malignant cartilage vary in cellularity, degree of cytologic atypia and mitotic activity. On this basis it is graded from grade 1 to grade 3. This picture is showing that there is presence of anaplastic chondrocytes amid hyaline cartilage matrix, and this is grade 3 chondrosarcoma. This photomicrograph is showing chondrosarcoma at low magnification. The tissue is cartilage and it is composed of chondrocyte with clear lacunae. These are surrounded by bluish matrix. The cellularity is increased and there is atypia which is present. The golden arrow is pointing towards the invasion and destruction of the bone by this invading chondrosarcoma. There are morphologically distinct varieties of these chondrosarcomas, such as dedifferentiated chondrosarcoma, clear cell chondrosarcoma, and mesenchymal chondrosarcoma. These are different from the conventional chondrosarcoma in the prognosis also, and some specific variety has a predilection for a specific site in the body. The dedifferentiated chondrosarcoma is a biphasic tumor and it is composed of lobules of low-grade chondrosarcoma with a second high-grade spindle cell tumor component that doesn't produce cartilage. This is usually arises in the flat bones of the pelvis or long bone. This type has a bad prognosis with 5 years survival of less than 5%. The clear cell chondrosarcoma contains sheet of large malignant chondrocyte that have abundant clear cytoplasm, numerous osteoclast like giant cell, and woven bone formation within the lesion. This variety almost exclusively present in the proximal epiphysis of the femur and humerus. Its prognosis is similar to the conventional chondrosarcoma. The mesenchymal chondrosarcoma is also dimorphic in appearance. There are areas of high-grade malignant small round blue cells. These cells resemble cells of Ewing sarcoma. There are sheets of these cells, these small blue cells, and these cells are interrupted by the island of malignant hyaline cartilage that is similar to the conventional chondrosarcoma. The common site of this type of the tumor is jaw and chest wall, and the prognosis of this tumor is also poor. Besides the histopathological variants of the chondrosarcoma, various anatomic variants are also recognized, and these are the central chondrosarcoma, peripheral chondrosarcoma, and juxtacortical chondrosarcoma. The central chondrosarcoma arises in the medullary cavity of the pelvic bone, ribs, and long bones. And on radiology, it is characterized by a poorly defined border with thickened shaft and perforation of the cortex. There are stippled or ring-like radioopacities which represent calcification or endochondral ossification within the lesion. These central chondrosarcoma may penetrate the cortex, but the extension beyond the periosteum is uncommon. On gross examination, there is presence of neoplastic cartilaginous tissue in the medullary cavity, and areas of necrosis, cystic changes, and hemorrhage are also seen. The cortex of the bone and intertrabecular spaces of the marrow are also infiltrated by the tumor. The patient presents with the pain which become more intense over time. The tumor is rarely palpable and it enlarges massively if untreated. The peripheral chondrosarcoma is another anatomic variant of the chondrosarcoma that arises outside the bone, almost always in the cartilaginous cap of an osteochondroma, but it may arise de novo. It arises after the age of 20 years, and the bones affected are pelvis, femur, vertebrae, sacrum, humerus, and other long bone. It rarely arises distal to knee or elbow. Radiologically, it is characterized by radio opacities, which represent calcification or ossification of the neoplastic cartilage. Macroscopic picture of these chondrosarcoma, peripheral chondrosarcoma, is large bosilated mass that surround the base of an osteochondroma and invade and destroys the bone. It is a slowly growing mass, and it present with pain and local symptoms as the mass expands. If this tumor is present in the pelvis and the lumbosacral plexus is compressed by the vertebral tumor, and it causes paraplegia. The juxtacortical chondrosarcoma is the least common anatomic variant of the chondrosarcoma. It lies on the outer surface of the cortex, and hence it is probably periosteal or parosteal in origin. It affects middle-aged men, and metaphyses of the long bones are affected. The radiology is characterized by entirely translucent or focally calcified areas within the tumor, and the patient present with swelling with little accompanying pain. The grading of the chondrosarcoma is based on the cellularity and atypia. Mitotic figure are not used in the grading system for this chondrosarcoma. The grade 1 chondrosarcoma comprises about more than 50% of the cases, and these are characterized by tumor cells within a background of abundant blue chondrite matrix, and the tumor is permeating entrapped bony trabeculae. Then grade 2 accounts for about 30 to 40% of the chondrosarcoma, and there is higher cellularity and pronounced atypia, as is evident by this picture. Grade 3 chondrosarcoma accounts about 5% of the cases. There is extreme cellularity, severe cytologic atypia, and focal spindle shaped cell growth pattern. Radiology of the chondrosarcoma is characterized by the presence of foci of flocculent densities, which represent calcified matrix of the chondrosarcoma. The slowly growing low-grade tumor causes reactive cortical thickening, while the aggressive high-grade neoplasm destroy the cortex and form soft tissue masses. The clear cell variant is unique that it originates in the epiphysis of the long bone. So here this upper end of the humerus is showing these flocculent densities which are present within the humerus. On the left there is a radiograph which is showing that there is a chondrosarcoma arising in the right iliac wing and extending to the soft tissue, which is manifested by irregular brightness. On the right there is a CT scan which shows that there is extensive soft tissue involvement with the presence of brightly calcified areas within the soft tissue. This is another case of the chondrosarcoma, which is on the left, which is showing a large destructive mass of the proximal ulna, which is showing that there is huge soft tissue mass which contain aggregates of ring-shaped or popcorn-like calcification, while on the right there is a gross specimen of the same lesion, proximal ulna, and this is showing that there is deformity with the presence of a large lobulated hyaline cartilage with calcification, ossification, and there is area of necrosis also. The chondrosarcoma present with a painful progressive enlarging mass, and it spreads through hematogenous route. More than 70% of grade 3 chondrosarcomas metastasize to lung. The histological grade correlates directly with the biologic behavior, and for the conventional chondrosarcoma, the grade 1 has got excellent prognosis, that is about 80 to 90% 5-year survival, while grade 3 has got bad prognosis, that is 43% for 5-year survival. The grade 1 and 2 are associated with 80 to 90% survival, while the grade 3 and dedifferentiated variety have got poor prognosis. The metastatic potential for the low grade is very less, while it is more than 50% for higher grade 3 and dedifferentiated variety of chondrosarcoma. The recurrence rate for low grade is low, while for grade 3 and dedifferentiated variety, the recurrence rate is high. The treatment for chondrosarcoma, for conventional chondrosarcoma, is wide surgical excision, while the mesenchymal and dedifferentiated variety are treated by excision along with adjuvant chemotherapy. So this is a quiz just to refresh the memory. A 35-year-old woman has multiple cartilaginous lesion in her long and short bone. A radiograph of the hand revealed bulbous swelling. A biopsy shows abnormally arranged hyaline cartilage with a scattered zone of proliferation. The patient is at risk for which of the following bone disease?